Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to Jesse Waters claiming that Kamala has just made the biggest mistake of her political campaign. So, I have been finding this political campaign, the presidential race, super interesting. Really, really interesting just to observe. I think at the moment, it's really too close to call. There's still such a long time to go. I think, 2 months is like an eternity when it comes to political campaigns. You know, things change on a daily basis. A poll taken today and a poll taken tomorrow in the same state could look wildly different. And what I will say, though, is Kamala is doing a lot better than I thought she would be doing. I didn't think that she would be gathering this much momentum so quickly as well. I thought the reason why they wanted Biden, they wanted to keep him in, was because maybe they didn't think Kamala had the political ability and personality to win a presidential race. But she's doing a lot better than I thought she would be doing. But apparently, she might have made the biggest mistake of her campaign. What mistake was that? Let's find out.
Welcome to a special edition of Jesse Waters Primetime. Tomorrow, the DNC officially kicks off. The primetime team's already in Chicago, causing some trouble. It's what we do best. But right before the Democrats' big day, Kamala made the biggest mistake of her campaign. She told us what her plans were.
Really?
Kamala wants to control the price of food.
I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food. My plan will include new penalties for opportunistic companies that exploit crises and break the rules.
How is that a bad thing? Price gouging, which is how we would say it here, is terrible. I think, when it comes to especially food, why should a greengrocer be allowed to just jack up the price of bread, milk, flour, just because, like they can, when families are having to go to food banks? How is this a bad thing? I mean, I guess we're going to find out how it's a bad thing. Let's see.
Princess Kamala wasn't supposed to have plans, or whatever those plans were. She was supposed to hide them until after the election. But now she wants to pick the price of bacon? Kamala knows what a head of lettuce should cost, even though she hasn't been in a grocery store in 4 years. The princess just waves her magic wand and poof, a loaf of bread's $2.50. Why didn't anyone else think of that? Well, a lot of people did. And it's been a disaster every time. 2,000 years ago, Roman Emperor Diocletian put in a price control, punishable by death. Prices went up, and merchants started selling goods on the black market. The Soviets tried it too. That ended in bread lines. Even President Nixon gave it a shot.
The time has come for decisive action, action that will break the vicious circle of spiraling prices and costs. I am today ordering a freeze on all prices and wages throughout the United States for a period of 90 days.
On wages too, he froze wage growth. Why did he do that? Oh, probably inflation, right? To kind of tackle inflation, maybe?
Nixon's price freeze triggered shortages and even more inflation. And then 90 days later, he got rid of them. In Venezuela, Hugo Chavez went on a socialist spending spree, which sent food prices skyrocketing. So he had the same idea as Harris and capped food prices. And Venezuela went from one of the richest countries in the world to one of the poorest. Price controls aren't a new idea. They're just a bad one.
It is a device that governments have repeatedly resorted to try to cover up the effects of their own policies. It is offered as a cure for inflation. It is not a cure for inflation. It has never been a cure for inflation. It is an alleged cure that is far worse than the disease.
Okay, Americans watching this and Canadians, anybody to be honest with you, do you think that the prices in supermarkets, do you think some of it is opportunistic? Do you think some of it is just greed? Or do you think all of it is justified. Like the stores are charging fair prices. Do you think it's fair? Some of the prices I'm seeing, I cannot call fair. Like, how can a tub of Lurpak, which last year was £2.50, how can that same tub be £4.50? It's almost doubled in a year.
The government setting food prices didn't work for Rome, the Soviets, Nixon, or Venezuela. But Kamala thinks she can just wave her magic wand and voila, capitalism disappears. This was her campaign's first opportunity to show us her economic vision, and it turns out she's blind as a bat. We all waited a month to hear what Kamala believed in, and she finally told us it's communism. After Kamala said she was going to choose the price of cheese, Bernie Sanders released a statement calling it a very important step forward.
I love how they pick the word, like, they're making him look crazy.
Or backward. The princess doesn't understand basic math. She thinks supply and demand means when she demands something, the intern supplies it. Kamala's communism would have come out in a primary. And for those Democrats watching, a primary is when politicians compete with each other and do interviews, take questions from voters, and tell us what they believe in.
I think he's making reference to the fact that, you know, Kamala basically was just given the Democratic ability to run as president without any competitors.
But why bother with democracy when coronating a mysterious princess makes it easier on the Democrats and much easier for her? Kamala can wave her magic wand and build millions of new homes across America.
By the end of my first term, we will end America's housing shortage by building 3 million new homes and rentals that are affordable for the middle class. In addition, while we work on the housing shortage, my administration will provide first-time home buyers with $25,000 to help with the down payment on a new home.
Honestly, when it comes to home building, there's two things that you could do that would immediately make the housing market much better without even building any more new homes. A, ban private equity from buying up thousands and thousands of homes with no intention of ever selling them. They're just going to rent them out forever. And B, you need to cut NIMBYism. So not in my backyardism. People that basically reject new houses being built. There's just so much of that going on.
Kamala spent $8 billion and she built 7 charging stations. You think she can build 3 million homes? The guy she's running against builds things for a living. If you want a new home, I'd vote for that guy. And she's going to hand anybody who wants to build their first house a check for $25,000. Do you hear that sound? If you listen closely, that's the sound of every home seller raising their listing price by 25 grand. This just drives home prices up more.
That's a fair point.
Just like electric cars or college tuition. When the government subsidizes, the price goes up and the country goes deeper in debt. Kamala doesn't care. She's got a wand and a dream, and she's going to wave it until her wrist gives out. She wants to get rid of private health insurance. Poof. And pick the price of drugs. If Big Pharma says that's illegal, she'll make their patents go poof.
For any drug where they fail to play by our rules, I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that.
I'm not sure. That would just become such a massive court case, a messy one too. Just taking a patent, I don't know if that's possible.
And Kamala says that if men and women are paid differently, you're getting fined.
For every 1% differential between what they are paying men and women for equal work, there will be a fine of 1% of their previous year's profits. That'll get their attention.
Wow.
Fines, price controls, snatching patents, $25,000 handouts for a couple who just graduated from Harvard and want to scoop up their first starter home in Nantucket. This isn't what the machine coronated Kamala for. They wanted a figurehead who would hide in her castle, not share her Marxist ideas with voters. The machine can drag this princess across the finish line if she just keeps her mouth shut. Naughty little princess.
We've seen it happen in Venezuela. We've seen it happen in the Soviet Union. Price controls just don't work.
Why is he calling her Princess Kamala? Like, where did that nickname come from? Like, someone explain it to me, please.
Expresses a level of economic illiteracy.
We've seen this kind of thing tried in lots of other countries before: Venezuela, Argentina, the Soviet Union, etc. It leads to shortages. It leads to black markets. Plenty of uncertainty.
It sounded a lot like this notion that we were going to set price controls and that we were returning to the 1970s. You can't pay more than, let's say, $2.50 for milk. And if you do, we're going to charge the grocery store with some criminal act. And obviously, this hasn't worked, these sorts of policies in Venezuela or Soviet Russia.
Kamala is supposed to be the puppet princess. And now the media is freaking out because she's telling everybody she's a commie. Obama's economic guru tells the New York Times this isn't a sensible policy. Washington Post calls it a gimmick. The Atlantic calls her plan economically dumb.
A lot of politicians, though, they say they're going to do things, but then when they really win, most of the plans get shelved because they were always unrealistic. So, I imagine both sides, both Kamala and Donald, are saying they're going to do certain things with probably very little intention of actually following through should they win.
USA Today says, don't fall for it. Charles Gasparino reports Wall Street is working overtime this weekend, warning clients that Kamala is clueless about business. She was supposed to be the corporate America candidate. Lobbyists would be telling her what to do. She's not supposed to have any ideas of her own, or at least she's not supposed to be sharing them. And now she's promising breadlines and free houses? Those donations are going to dry up if she keeps telling voters what's going on in that little head of hers. No more policy from the princess unless it's approved by the media and donors. They were the ones who whacked Biden, and they can whack you too, princess, if you talk without their permission. Kamala will probably get out of this by doing what she's done her whole career. Did I say price control? I don't believe in that anymore.
This is why I love following American politics, because you just would never see a large UK journalist refer to one of the leadership candidates in such a way. It's just, you just wouldn't see it here. So it's almost like just, wow, like, can't believe he's like talking about her like this,
Kamala's already in the White House. She could do everything she's campaigning on today. So why isn't she?
Yesterday, Kamala laid out her so-called economic plan. She says she's going to lower the cost of food and housing starting on day one. But day one for Kamala was 3.5 years ago. So why didn't she do it then? So this is...
I mean, in fairness to her, like, can she really do much as VP? Like, the president has the power to enact those kind of changes, right?
This is day 1305. We're at 1305. So why isn't she doing it now? Why doesn't she get away from her nice little place with her wonderful husband, go to Washington and do it now? You could do it right now.
Click here.
Very interesting indeed. The thing is, both candidates need to make certain promises, don't they? They need to say they're going to do certain things because that's how you persuade people who otherwise maybe wouldn't have voted for you to vote for you. The person who is desperate to get on the housing ladder, if you say that you're going to build 3 million new homes, that is what they want to hear, I think there should be some kind of legal mechanism in place that holds presidents to account on the things that they promise, on the commitments that they make, because you shouldn't be able to just say anything just to win a vote. I think there should be something that holds you to account. You said you were going to do this, so now do it, or at least show that it's possible to do it. I think it's very close to call, honestly. It's too close to call. I saw an article last week that said that that Trump was losing Florida. But this is the thing, you know, these polls, how are they conducted? Are they conducted anonymously? A lot of people, if they're asked in public who they're going to vote for, they might lie because they don't want their friends or family to know that they're going to vote a certain way. So you can't really trust polls. It's really, really close to call. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please help me out by liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate it.